So the debate is going on, and I love this debate. Is it a concentration camp? Is it an internment camp? Or is it a summer camp? Now, I don't know about you, but it's hard to confuse at least the first one with the last one.
We just know it's a camp.
We just know it's a camp.
We don't know what type of
Could
camp.
be CYO camp. We don't know.
We don't know.
Could be any of these. They're all being used to describe the same thing. Australia has opened multiple facilities for people traveling into Australia to quarantine for 14 days upon arriving in Australia. The official website for the Australian Northern Territory government says the places are mandatory, supervised, quarantine facilities. And they're popping up all over Australia. Now, we have spent over a week looking into these because it's either Auschwitz or it's a summer camp. And I didn't want to go on the air half-cocked. I wanted to find the truth. So here it is. One of these facilities, the Center for National Resilience in Howard Springs, attracted attention last week because 3 teenagers were trying to run away from the facility, and they were caught by police and brought back to the summer camp. Now, these teenagers hadn't been traveling from overseas because that's what it was supposed to be. You get off a plane, you got to stay there for 14 days, and then you can go home. All right. But this has now expanded the mandate. Instead of just housing repatriates, they're also housing people who catch the virus, as well as those who are in close contact with those who have the virus. Okay, this is beginning to sound, I don't know about you, but it doesn't have old people. Well, it might, but I haven't seen the bikini pics yet of the old people there. It sounds a little like what happened with the nursing homes. Hey, you're trapped in the nursing home. Hey, you have coronavirus? Ooh, why don't you come to the nursing home? Now, the 3 teenagers had close contact with somebody who had coronavirus. Not only did the teenagers not have COVID, but even the chief minister of the Northern Territory, Michael Gunner, admitted he knew that they had tested negative the day before they tried to break out. So the Australian police chased down the 3 teenagers who had tested negative the day before and returned them against their will to the facility. And then the chief minister of the Northern Territory threatened the teenagers that they may have to restart their time in quarantine. He said, absconding from Howard Springs isn't just dangerous, it's incredibly stupid. Oh my gosh, Captain Trips. Because we will catch you, and there will be consequences. Ooh. Now, to make sure this doesn't happen again, they've announced that they will install more cameras in the facility. If the facilities are to keep everybody safe from COVID, then why are the teenagers without COVID being forced to restart their 14 days there? Explanation, punitive. It seems like the teenagers are not the only ones being punished. Hayley Hodgson, she is a recent detainee of the Howard Springs facility. She's speaking out about her time there. Here's what she said.
It's a horrible feeling. You feel like you're in prison. You feel like you've done something wrong. It's inhumane what they're doing. Like you are so small. They just overpower you and you're literally nothing. It's like you do what we say or you're in trouble. We'll lock you up for longer. Yeah, they were even threatening me that if I was to do this again, we will extend your time in here.
All right. She describes in the video 2 undercover investigators that showed up to her house unannounced, asking her if she, quote, knows this person who's her friend and tested positive for COVID. They asked her if she had been tested. She said yes, but she was lying. She had just been to a COVID camp the month before and didn't want to go back. The investigators left, then called 5 minutes later, and she told them she lied. They said, stay where you are. Someone will come and test you. But they didn't come to test her. 2 uniform officers showed up to tell her they were taking her to Howard Springs, and she had no choice. Now, she had just gotten out. Now she meets somebody else and she has to go back. Here's what she said.
So I just said, look, I don't consent to this. I don't understand why I can't just self-isolate at home like a lot of other people are doing. And they just said, we've just been told from higher up where to take you, and that's all that there is.
Okay. She had to go to the facility, quote, until she tests negative, and then she can come home. But when she arrived, a new set of cops told her that she had to stay for 14 days, and she tested negative every single day. At Howard Springs, you have to wear a mask, and if you leave your little balcony, it's about 2 meters, that's 6.5 feet about. If you leave that little balcony, you're in trouble. She has a medical exemption from having to wear a mask, but she was still reprimanded for stepping off her little balcony maskless. Here's what happened.
What's the go?
So this, I'm going to give you a warning, yeah? It's an official warning that you have to stand on the balcony and obey the rules while you get, yeah? And we have to go the rules again. I don't care.
So am I allowed to go to the laundry?
You're allowed to go to the laundry, but you got to wear a mask, yeah?
Yeah, righto.
And you definitely can't go up the fence anywhere else, but you're allowed to go to the laundry, yeah? That's always been the case, yeah?
Right, so if I was sitting just here, which is right near the fence, why are these guys in a cabin that's right near the fence? It makes no sense, does it?
Yeah, but you can't leave your balcony to go to the fence to talk to somebody else. That's just obvious, yeah?
So if I was
Again,
at that balcony...
So she's pointing to a balcony that is right up against the fence. She can't go off her balcony and approach the fence, but she could be on her balcony at the fence, and that's okay. And she's just pointing out that doesn't make any sense. She says, look, this is making me very, very anxious. So here's a crazy part. Listen to what she says.
Because I was so distressed and I said, can you just please let me out for a walk or a run? Like I'm in this little box and I can't move. Can I please, I'm anxious. I'm feeling not well. I need to get out. And they literally said, we've got a doctor calling you and we'll get some Valium prescribed to you that you can call us anytime you like and you can have Valium.
Okay, so now they're like, hey, welcome to a brave new world. Have some medication. They've lost it in Australia. Now, is this a concentration camp? Or is this a summer camp? Or is it an internment camp? Well, Tim Pool came under fire for calling these facilities concentration camps, specifically criticizing the fact that 39 Aboriginal people have been recently transported to the facility, citing a video of Aboriginals and their representatives saying they're being chased down with syringes and forced to go to Howard Springs. Here's what Tim Pool said.
Now, I referred to this as a concentration camp. Why? Because the word concentration camp doesn't literally mean Nazi death camp.
Right.
And there is some... you are trying to evoke an emotion by saying concentration camp. I did not choose those words lightly. I'm literally trying to point out what's happening. The government of Australia has built camps. Mm-hmm. They are putting people in those camps. They are claiming it's for safety. This is step one in the 100-step process towards locking up people, sealing them in, and then letting them die. Will it get to that point? Maybe not. No idea. But when has the government built camps with relocatable cabins for people deemed suspected of having a sickness to be locked away for a short period of time? When has that turned out well?
Okay, so the online Australian magazine Quillette fired back and said those videos are fake, known by political opportunists, and that the real Aboriginal people on the ground, I love this line, are grateful for what the government is doing. Like he said, when is the last time a government has, built a camp and it turned out well? When's the last time you heard anybody say, no, the original people on this land, they loved being rounded up by the government. They wanted that for their own safety. So the debate between the two has gotten really, really ugly. Now, the next thing that comes in this story is Twitter has been flooded with pictures of women in thong bikinis loving their time at Howard Springs Centers for national resilience. These pictures of these women in thongs, it does seem like a nice summer camp. But is that what it is? Bikinis and free beer? Or is it a concentration camp? I'm going to give you the full answer. And I think I'll give you the answer here in 60 seconds. All right. Concentration camps, internment camps, or summer camps. Okay. It's comfortable authoritarianism with a good PR team. You can't leave, even if you test negative, without being chased down by the police. But there's free Wi-Fi. You can't really get an attorney to represent you, but there's women in thongs. Most importantly, it's for your own good. Now, the majority of Australians are going along with this. The chief minister made clear after the teenagers tried to escape. I also want to point out the overwhelming compliance that we've had, given several hundred people have been placed into the Center of National Resilience linked to the clusters from Robinson River, blah, 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 blah. So most people agree. In fact, the large majority of the people, because we've had hundreds of people, thousands, if not millions, agree putting those hundreds of people away is fine. Again, not a great standard. Compliance in exchange for safety. This is what's on display now in Australia. You're not free, but you're comfortable, maybe even happy. You're comfortable and maybe happy, but you're not free. This is the problem. It is not a concentration camp. It's not. It's not anywhere close. I think it could be more in line with an internment camp. You know, that was for many of the Japanese went happily. They were fine. And it was for their own safety, also for the safety of others. But it was wrong. It was wrong to do. They were happy as soon as they got out of the horse stalls. They were happy. It was fine. There were wonderful pictures taken. Not of any of the Japanese in thongs, but we had better standards back then. So, can it be wrong and still a great place? Sure. Sure it can. In 2030, you're not going to own anything, but you're going to like it. Well, I say I'm not going to like that because I'm forced to live that way. I want to be free. I would like to have my day in court. No matter how nice it is. You know, it's the people who say, you know, slavery wasn't all bad. I mean, there were some slaves that were like part of the family. Yeah, except that part of the family wasn't free to go chart their own course. So no matter how great slaves were kept, it was still slavery and bad because you're not free. Same thing here. It's very nice. It's like they're part of the family, except they're not free. Here's the lesson that we need to learn. This is what not to do, America. Since the pandemic began, Australia has been the perfect example of how to seamlessly slide into unbridled authoritarianism. And it's been enough to make anyone with even the faintest desire for freedom want to run to the hills. But they gave up their guns, so they have nothing they can do. These are not concentration camps. They're far from it. But they are not harmless either. They are corrosive to the human psyche and undermine freedom from every angle. The warning that this is some kind of authoritarianism is a primer for something as sinister as concentration camps is written off as a slippery slope argument. Well, it may be. We have to ask, what would stop it from getting to the point of a concentration camp? What is the limiting principle here? Where is the line in the sand? At what point do you go, okay, well, that's too far? If this were happening in America, if this were happening to you, what would you do? You should answer that question, because 3 years ago, I wouldn't have imagined Americans would comply with months of lockdown, and they're still doing it. I couldn't have imagined people losing their jobs over a vaccine. I couldn't have imagined being asked to present my papers at a restaurant. I thought our line would be way before those things could happen. I bet Australians did as well. If we don't want to end up asking, is that a concentration camp or a summer camp, then we should get off the path that we're on right now. Find your line and hold it.